want to welcome everybody tonight and say what an amazing response we got for the member show this year, and how I was just amazed at the variety of work that you'll see in the next few minutes. So Elizabeth will scroll through the slides, and I will read what you wrote, and then we'll move on. And if we want to clap, we can all clap at the end because there's a lot of artists. Okay, this is Sheila Benedis, and sorry if I mispronounce names. Uh, she says, in my collages, the ritual of drawing with scissors gives meaning to my life. The repetitive action allows me to connect with the shapes of nature and express my feelings. I cut organic shapes out of paper to produce the drawings. The figures silently dance in gentle air currents and express feelings of joy. I never need pen or ink to explore my inner world with the beloved scissors inherited by my husband. I honor what is right and aligned with the earth. Drawing with scissors empowers me. And this is Judith Content, who spoke to us, I believe it was this year, if not last. Um, Judith is currently exploring sculptural compositions, works for the wall, and ephemeral land art installations. She continues to focus on arashi shibori and monoprint on silk, as well as hand stitching and machine stitching. Barbara Danzy, and she has two pieces. The first one is LA River Heartbeat. The LA River watershed should be a life-giving force that nourishes plants and animals and the human spirit of the Angelinos. But like a coronary blockage, the river's concrete lining and pollution from industrial and agricultural chemicals throughout the watershed have damaged the life of the river. I created the river and its tributaries in red to visualize the similarities between the condition of our river and a heart attack. The second piece is Our LA River, which is a triptych of three pieces. They're 29 inches wide and 86 inches tall. They can be hung as one long piece or three pieces side by side, or purchased and hung individually. A vision of the 51 miles of the LA River as a thriving, healthy, flowing river with vibrant biodiversity of plant life growing along the banks. 32 pedestrian bridges enable the people that live near the river to have some access, but there are long gaps without bridges. This is Sherry Davis, and her piece is called, this piece is called The Circular Form of Sherry Davis. The Woven Gate reflects the agricultural cycles of Sylvester Manor, both metaphorically and literally, especially in the use of a repurposed round cattle feeder as an armature. At the same time, it physically frames the actual landscape of the manor, allowing the observer to see it in a new context. Woven with upcycled materials, denim jeans, wire, inert invasive plants, etc. The 8-foot by 8-foot by 4-foot sculpture also functions as a gateway, evoking the gates of both heaven and hell from Paradise Lost. One can see hell in the depths, in the detritus that comprises the gateway, and at the same time see heaven as the garbage turned into something beautiful. These two seemingly irreconcilable ways of viewing the sculpture suggest Sylvester Manor's own discordant story, which includes both the ugliness of slavery and the beauty of nature. And Rachel Dorr, her work is Recycled Wedding Dress. This is currently traveling with the Manhattan Quilters Guild exhibition Rebound, Renew, Reimagined. The exhibition features works from 19 of the Guild's members and celebrates the return to pre-COVID-19 life. The piece was inspired by music practice, which, like the focused, repetitive thread work, has become a soothing act of daily meditation. Pat Frick, emphasis on process and surface texture remains evident in her current work. Her inspiration comes from the patterns and textures observed in nature. This piece, titled Spiral, is 16 by 16 by 3 inches, framed, and is one of a series where she has used a grouping of identical modules crafted from fine wire and attached together in various formats on either black or white felt to enhance and often reinterpret natural imagery. The original inspiration for each module were the skeletons of fallen pine trees observed on the coast of Maine, where rocky ground results in root systems that spread out horizontally, and sometimes strong winds result in blowdowns. Jane Gaskin also has 2 pieces. I believe this piece is multi-sided. It says this multi-sided art is from my Heartbeat of the City series. It is displayed with motion-activated sounds of subway and crowd noises to further enhance the ambience of the environment. We are all going somewhere or remembering where we've been, but life is what happens while in transit. And I guess it's not the back of it, but I don't know. She said multi-sided. This is called Washington, D.C. Taxi. This is from my Heartland series of the city. It's life-size and displayed with motion-activated sounds of a variety of traffic noises to further enhance the ambience. Auto tags in Washington, D.C. have said taxation without representation since 2000 as they strive for statehood. And the rest of the text reflects my opinion of the actions of the current administration in our nation's capital. Eileen Hoffman. My textile paintings and sculptural installations merge storytelling, textile traditions, and gendered histories. Layering pattern, imagery, and text on clear vinyl, my work is stitched together with a barbed red line that acts as both a seam and a form of resistance. Through my work, I make the undervalued and unseen culture of many women's lives more visible. My work, this is Diane Kopich-Huka. My work is improvisational. Whether I'm painting or stitching, I react to the interplay of color, texture, and mark as it is reflected from the silk substrate. Each addition and subtraction inspires another until I'm satisfied. It is this interaction that I am striving for and want my audience to be part of. I am using dye, fabric, and stitches to paint and sculpt. I am fascinated by the way each silk piece reflects light and changes the color. Tetsuko Jimbo, Pulsing with Life. This work expresses the energy of life thriving in nature. Woven forms and extended arms symbolize growth, motion, and inner strength. Life gathering power, reaching outward, expanding with purpose. And this one is called Pray for Nature. This tapestry expresses a deep reverence for nature. I try to express the passage of time passage of time and weathering through the weaving method and the movements of the thread. This is Judy Kirpich, and her piece is Doodle number 9, which is part of a new series, Conversations with My Late Husband. My husband, David, died in January 2024. He was a Middle Eastern scholar and was fluent in many different languages. His notes in Hebrew, Arabic, and his own shorthand took place over a 20-year period as he sat in seminars and conferences. The doodles are a window into the mind of a brilliant but goofy man. This series is a collaborative effort as I am stitching on top of years of David's doodles. I work on top of David's scribbles, but in place of ink, I am using fiber and thread. The black or blue of a pen is transformed into color, and the result is a continuing conversation. This is Nancy Koningsberg, and she says, my work is concerned with the definition of space. The piece I have chosen, narrow gauge wire, is ideally suited to the exploration of this concept. Various gauges of copper and steel wires lend themselves to the creation of delicate lattice works or heavier, nearly opaque surfaces. Denise Cooperman. This semi-autobiographical trio of 3 women has slowly come together over the past year. A young woman full of hope, a middle-aged woman questioning her life, and an old woman accepting her life with humor. The images are photo transferred onto felt and pieced together with felt and other fiber fragments. Included are lace and linen from my wedding dress, my husband's wedding shirt, and other pieces of clothing and ephemera. Mary Lane. Recently, my regional tapestry group launched a project in which we chose an existing textile as a springboard for tapestry. These tapestries are part of that project. The source textiles are Andean. I excerpted motifs, altered them a bit, and created my own composition. Because I saw the motifs and shapes as weaving language, I titled the pieces Borrowed Luggage. This is me, Judy Langeal, and okay, this piece is called From My Closet. I found this treasure trove of dyed and printed fabric in my closet. I printed them all. And piecing them together, I decided to make them into a composition. Over the years, I created a vocabulary of hand stitches. Each square became a small composition as I hand stitched the layers of the quilt together. This piece uses a traditional style that I haven't used in many years. This one is very, very recent. It's called Log Cabin Watercolor, a traditional quilt that has been recreated in a contemporary style. Although this piece is big enough to sleep under, it wouldn't be practical because it lacks the strength and warmth that a quilt would provide. And Fannie Lee, and I hope I'm pronouncing this, Day Tao 1 is the first of a series of 3 tapestry pieces in Cantonese. No, pieces. In Cantonese, Dao Tao has several meanings, referring to a place, an area, a map, a natural landscape. So these tapestries are an interpretation of natural forms and textures that I've separated into the less natural subdivisions of a grid. These pieces begin at the top in an ordered array of boxes and eventually end in a less structured, um, almost unfinished format. In the first piece, I used a 2-inch horizontal module, which gives the overall appearance of large interwoven matrix of changing colors. The inspiration comes from a paper gel print that was cut into strips and woven into a paper collage. The paper collage was made during a workshop at Arrowmont School of Crafts and Arts and Crafts with Tommy Scanlon. Patricia Malasha. My pieces are from a series of artist books in cigar boxes. Whir. Whir is a book for meditation. Each of 15 unbound pages contains a word with no meaning in isolation. A 6-foot-long silk scarf is a meditation garment. Archive was inspired by the packaging of individual cigars in plexi tubes. Each tube holds a page from an 1820 dictionary, rolled up and dipped in encaustic. The text on the inside cover is a magnified section of a page from the book. Bettina Matskoon, she spoke to us this year also. Her piece, she says, in the summer of 2024, I was thrilled to have been invited as an artist in residence at Quain National Park in the Yukon Territory. Many of my resulting works are about climate change's effects on the landscape, shrinking glaciers, and snowpacks with repercussions downstream. And you can remember that from when we saw her work. Mary McFerrin. I continue my project working with the materials that farm women may have had access to. Simple cottons, used tablecloths and curtains, lace and raw lamb's wool. Sometimes I include words from their diaries, and sometimes I write my own. Nancy Middlebrook. Woven with hand-dyed cotton, Lake 1 and Lake 3 were inspired by the palette of the glacial lakes of the Canadian Rockies. As is often the case, my work begins with a color palette based on place and design follows. Lake 1 was awarded first place in the craft by State Museum of Pennsylvania in their recent Art of the State exhibit. Debbie Morris, who you all know, says, for me, creating is a form of expression. I'm deeply interested in mark making and the layering of materials and patterns. Using my embroidery machine as a painting tool, I manipulate colors and patterns in real time as the machine stitches. I've been experimenting with the integration of diverse materials such as ceramics, metal, and textiles with reeds. One recent piece features a hand-woven textile embedded into the structure of a reed basket. Paula Nadelstern. Kaleidoscope, number, oh my goodness, I can't even read that number, 47. The title is a reference to my roots as a traditional quilter. It is my version of a scrap quilt, a new quilt created from fabric you already have. Ellen Piccola. The inspiration is from my brother's tool shed. Donna Ritter. In memory of M. was created as a tribute to a dear friend who died of cancer recently. While under treatment, she made an artwork with the word "be." She loved the shore, and after she died, I found myself using the sea as my inspiration. I made this in her memory. Carolina on my mind. I have spent some time in North Carolina in the woods and mountains. This piece represents an amalgam of memories of the mountain landscape there that I have so enjoyed and that has been important to my family. Theta Sandiford has two pieces. Tender Crown. As a child, I squirmed at Aunt Terry's feet, her firm hands parting and twisting my hair into tiny plaits that pulled like roots. Each braid reshaped me, beauty bound in tension, leaving my scalp tingling with memory. This one is Blue Feather Crystal Rope Circle. This artwork crafted from 3-ply cotton glitter rope, intricately knotted and wrapped with eyelash yarn. Embroidery floss and crystal beads forms the foundational layer of a spiritual altar. Designed to harmonize with feathers and shells and a bowl of water, it amplifies elemental energies to create a sacred place for reflection, connection, and renewal. Larry Schulte. The first image, White Explosion, consists of a solvent transfer print that is cut up and collaged to a serigraph and is then machine stitched. The second image, On Golden, is a very recent woven painting and printed paper piece working in a smaller format. It's only 12 by 12, and the thinnest strips are 1/8 of an inch wide. This piece continues my exploration of the Fibonacci sequence. There's Robin, who you all recognize. And her first piece is typographic, fabrics over, some over-dyed, stenciled, or screen printed, and fabric paint, machine pieced and appliqued, hand quilted, the latest in a long series of scrap box collages using outtakes and scraps from earlier projects. And this one is called I Love You Madly, fabric machine appliqued, machine pieced, long arm quilted by Justin Stafford, a bed quilt for my sister. Her late husband used to sign his notes, I love you madly. His handwriting is the basis for this text. This is Julia Shepley. Julia was inspired by visual and auditory recordings of whale communication to expand the recorded iconography into her own dimensional language of marks to convey the wave patterns and harmonics of sound in transit. In her 2024-5 song series, black drawing notations backed by reflective copper, and aluminum undulate out from the wall, emanating patterns of reflection and shadow. Jessica Siegel. These are 2 wall hangings I have woven in the last year. Sun over the Gowanus Canal and Red Mountains, Blue Lake. For the past 5 years or so, I've been working and learning at the Saori Weaving Studio. Forgive my pronunciation of that word. I have had my work in a couple of shows, but I feel like I'm still learning. Adrian Sloan. My work is a series of deeply felt constructions that reflect my own moral universe, as well as, hopefully, the ethos of the day. By visually addressing the frayed and unraveled places around me, I want to promote the thoughtful dialogue and action on critical issues as we navigate difficult times. This is Ileana Soto, and not going to pronounce this right, Ileana. Hoople Silhouette. Remembering her mother's travels to Mexico and Latin America, Ileana has interpreted a classic hoople silhouette shape in screen printed with thickened dyed cotton and fused layering of hand printed linen plus stitching. The piece is adorned with a recent discovery of her mother's painted wood macrame beads from the 70s. And this piece is called Trembler, where once clear, sharp edged buildings stood, they have now crumbled from the shaking of the earth. There is a clear movement downward, floating irregular shards, fear about what will be found underneath. The boundaries of reality are blurred. Is it an earthquake trembler or the rolling tremors of war? Kim Swoboda, and her piece is Prayer Book. I think of this little hand-stitched concertina book as a prayer book for peace. The text and photos are printed on organza. The type is from a biography of Mahatma Gandhi. The photos I took in India. It is hand-stitched. The quote of Ganges is from 1930, and it says, "I want world sympathy in this battle of right against might." Anne Vollum, I stitch between wet felted sculptures and hand-stitched allegorical pieces on echo-dyed vintage linens. This one is If Only, contemplating just deserts for all those males who do females wrong and think they can get away with it. This one is called Reef. It is part of a recent installation. The larger piece is Sea Dragon. The smaller pieces represent different corals. And that is the end of the slideshow.